Alright guys, welcome back to Max Boneyard Builds. So, now that we've got those exhaust manifold bolts out of the heads, we are going to tackle our next project, which is going to be make this block look like something. Whenever I did the 6.0 and the C10, I was trying to think of ways outside the box instead of taping off the whole motor or taking the motor apart and taping it off or whatever, to where I could clean the block up. I could clean up these accessories and stuff with some paint. That would be one, cheap, because that's me, and two, easy to do without making a huge mess or having to hook up an air compressor or spraying or whatever. And I'm going to show you guys the trick that I learned that looks awesome. So what's my trick? Right there. It is brush on paint for cast iron stoves. 1200 degrees. You can get it in satin or you can get it in flat. I've got flat on hand, so I'm just going to use flat. This stuff is super thin. It's almost like a self-leveling. Just make sure your brush doesn't have a whole lot in it so you don't get any streaks or anything. It's real thin, so you just real lightly brush it on. Hit yourself with a couple coats of it. And then whenever it gets hot, it actually bakes on whatever that object is, flashes over, gives it a really cool, almost like a black bolt, like your bolt's been anodized or whatever. It gives it that same look on everything, and it doesn't come off. It looks super good. It's super cheap. It's easy to do. You don't have to tape everything off. So I'm going to get you turned around, let you check it out. All right, guys. So, like I said, this stuff is really thin. I don't know if you can see that or not. Hopefully you can. I mean, it is really thin. So I use these little foam brushes because it tends to hold it in there and it doesn't run quite as bad. Like you do, you just get some on there. And I'm telling you, you just paint it on just like you're back in grade school. If you start getting any runs or anything, just clean them up as you go. Like I said, this it's made for cast iron stoves, so it gives it just a nice flat clean look. It's going to look much better than this torn up, you know, black paint from the factory that's been popped off. And I went through here, and guys, you know, your paint job's only as good as your prep work, so I went through here, got rid of any loose paint that I could, went over with a light wire brush, also went over with a little bit of sandpaper, cleaned up all of the dirt and stuff off of it that I could. And I'm telling you, you don't get any brush strokes or anything. It is just a good, easy, economical way to freshen up your engine bay, guys. Like, you know, if I wanted to, I could have just slapped this thing. Oh, and I always keep all my bolts and stuff. Like, these are for your motor mounts. I'm keeping those in there, you know, just that way I don't get any paint in the threads or anything. But you know, I could have just slapped this motor in just how it was, and it would have ran just perfectly fine. But every time that my boy Bennett pops his hood, he's gonna have a motor that looks like it's got 180,000 miles on it. Where, in this way, all it takes is half hour of my time. I'll crank up some tunes here in a minute, and you know, it's going to make that engine bay look that much better anytime we pop the hood to show off the work that we've done. But hopefully, I'm going to try and get a little more done here, and then hopefully you guys can see what the progress looks like. And then I'm going to do just that, crank up some music, and then I'm going to go to town on painting this baby up, and then you can see the end result. I would like to take this time to thank all my subscribers. As always, you guys never cease to amaze me. I keep getting more every day. If you guys just stopped upon the channel by chance today, I appreciate a like and a subscribe and a comment. Introduce yourself. Tell me what project you're working on. I don't know if you've noticed or not, I try my hardest to answer every comment that's thrown at me, and I love having a good conversation and stuff, guys. So reach out to a guy. Tell me what you think. If you think it's a hack job, let me know it's a hack job. If you like what I'm doing, tell me that you like what I'm doing. Hopefully this is coming up, guys. I mean, this is taking us a matter of what, maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes? I don't know what it's been, and it is just cruising right along. I'm using almost no material. This paint is so thin. I mean, it's almost like water. And you can just sit here and dab and swirl and get inside all your fine little cracks and crevices and everything else. And when it's done, it looks far, far better than what it was. Alright, so there it is, guys. As you can see, hopefully, man, this block looks completely different. I went around, touched up some areas needed touched up, gave it a second coat. Not going to bore you guys with the time lapse on that whole thing. Even did the harmonic balancer, did the water pump bolts, anything that had a little bit of rust showing, you know, just sanded off. Hit it with that cast iron, that brush on cast iron paint. Gives it a nice flat black look. Looks much better than something that's just rusty and dropped in the motor bay. So now I think we've got this thing almost entirely buttoned up how I want it, and we are going to snip on the motor mounts. We're going to drop it in the red one. We're going to get the wiring harness done, keep pressing on. Before you know it, this thing is going to be looking good and on the road. I appreciate you guys stopping by Max Boneyard Builds. Hit a subscribe if you haven't. Drop me a comment. As always, I appreciate you for stopping by.